What is up, guys? Buddy Blades here. It's been a while since I posted, but today I got something really exciting to share with you. It's my newest acquisition for my knife collection, and I'm really excited to talk about it. I just picked up this knife today at my local thrift store, and got a really good deal on it, given what they sell for online. So, to cut right to the chase, we have a Cold Steel Leatherneck SF. So this knife was designed by Cold Steel as a sort of hunter, survivalist, combat sort of hybrid, really. It has, by their own description, an American Tonto style point to it, which I can definitely see the inspiration there. And one of the nicer and more immediate features I could see is that there's a bit more beef, a bit more metal material here at this point, especially on the spine. You have a nice strong spine, and it doesn't diminish too greatly coming up to the point, which is a common complaint for lovers of the Tonto and even some aggressive clip points, is that eventually after abuse and loss of use, the point will wear down, and it's usually one of the first areas to fail. I've seen many knives where the point is just snapped off, and you now have a very ineffective knife, especially given that you likely purchased a Tonto or clip point for skinning or something along those lines, and you need a functioning point on the blade to be able to do that. You wouldn't use a wide knife for it. You need something that tapers like this. So to have one that is designed as such and is a little more beefy is very thoughtful of the creators. Anyone who's seen any of my previous videos know that I own quite a few different Cold Steel pieces. I've been a supporter of them for a long time. This is probably... Nope, this is my first functional knife I think I've acquired of theirs. All my other Cold Steel knives are throwing knives with no live edges. They're designed specifically for throwing. And that's great and all, but I hadn't had a chance to try any of their functional knives, of which there are many. Cold Steel has been making knives like this and all sorts of other styles for hip carry for a long time. And I'm just really excited to finally have one. And I really like this style especially. It reminds me of some old school K-bars. And I always liked those knives. So, to go over more features of the knife, I've already discussed the strong spine and general features of the blade. The blade itself is 6 3/4 inch. That is the length of the blade. So it's a reasonable size of a knife. It is not gaudy, huge, this machete that's going to be awkward to carry on your hip, but it's not a short and stubby little pocket knife that has limited use. So it's definitely something I'd put on my hip to carry through the bush, for sure. It has a plastic, rubberized I should say, Cray X grip here. That is checkered all the way down. So it does have good grip ergonomics. I feel like this would not slip as much if you're sweating or working hard with it because of all of the checkering here. And it has a solid steel machined butt plate, which is nice because in the market nowadays, sometimes you see butt plates that are much cheaper, aluminum or even plastic. And the real nice thing about this butt plate that I like is that they've left a slot here so that you can still see the tang. Because one of my biggest issues with knives like this, full cover handle knives, is that you cannot see the tang. You have to go based on what the manufacturer says of the tang length is. And I don't know if it's maybe me just being distrustful, but I like to see the tang. I like full tang knives because it's just that much more support and that much more rigidity to the structure. I've had a few knives fail at the handle because the tang only went through half of the handle. And that really bothers me. So I like that this one, as proof of their claim, they've left the tang visible. And, furthermore, this butt plate, kind of hard to see there, is pinned to the tang. Which is also nice because, again, I've encountered butt plates that they're usually epoxied on, or some other low-quality attaching method. Either way, they tend to break and come off. And when that happens, the handle comes off, your guard comes off, and you have a piece of steel that is not very functional. So this one being pinned in place is nice. It again shows that Cold Steel was really thinking about the practical application when they designed this knife. The steel. Now, when I first purchased this, I expected the steel to be a 1095 carbon. That's what Cold Steel is used on a lot of their knives and their swords and machetes. They're very big fans of the 1095 on their knives and swords. They prefer 1055 on their axes. Most of the Cold Steel axes I possess are all 1055. They usually bounce between. This one, when doing some research, actually surprised me. This one is German D2. Hang on, let me grab my cue card here. D2 German tool steel. Did a little research on that because I was curious. D2 German tool steel is a common steel. It's been around for a long time. It is a high carbon, high chromium steel that is exceptionally hard, and when heat treated correctly, does not experience some of the extreme brittleness that you see in some other high chromium type steels. It's very common in tools, and it's been used in knife making for a while now. So I would trust that it is a solid steel. I have yet to really put this knife through its paces and test it. I'll probably post an update when I do and just see how the edge holds up, because I have no idea how the edge retention is for this type of steel. I've not worked with it much. Again, most of my belongings are 1055 or 1095. So it'll be interesting to see how well this steel holds up. It came in a solid plastic case, sheath I should say. And it has on it as well, just pop it off, it came with a couple of little attachments, again keeping survival and that kind of stuff in mind. Come here. Oop, there we go. It has a magnesium rod fire starter that you can strike to create spark, or this might also be the type where you scrape some off and then you apply another source of spark and it helps light up wet kindling faster. I'm not entirely certain. I haven't had a chance to use it, but it's still very neat that they included it, and it's just, again, speaks to the survival design of this blade. And this is an interesting little bit. It has this. This is a little LED flashlight. What is this LED flashlight for, and why is it on a knife scabbard? That is for this. This has been engineered into the guard here, so that you could put this little flashlight. It's kind of a tight fit, I will say. I feel like they could have designed this a bit better to fit better. A little filing or sanding, I could probably fix that fit without much issue. But essentially, it's designed to fit into the knife like that. So that you can turn it on. And now, if you are working in the dark or just don't have that good of lighting, you now have a light that goes down the spine of your blade and gives you visibility as to where your knife is traveling if natural lighting isn't enough, which, as a hunter, is incredibly thoughtful, in my opinion, because, you know, half the time it seems like your luck always is dry right up until the end of the day, or right at the beginning of the day, when the sun is either just starting to come up or just starting to go down. So light isn't usually the best, especially if you got a field dressing animal. So it's real great to have that. As a hunter, I can appreciate that. Just maybe they need to work better on the fit. Again, that's not anything I can't fix. I'm not unfamiliar with that with Cold Steel products. Sometimes their fitting isn't the best. But I digress. For what it is, it's an exceptionally cool knife. And it has a lot of advantages over other traditional knives. I have one here for comparison. This is my hunt shield. This is what I would normally carry on my hip if I'm way out in the bush, or if I'm hunting, or, you know, just far away from society. I'd carry this. This has a leather hand, it has your leather ringed handle. It's definitely a much wider blade style. This is for sure. And it's a different point on it as well. I've carried this for a while. I have nothing really against this knife. I've used it a couple of times, but there are a few things that I think this knife does better. For instance, starting with the handle. I love leather. I really do. I love leather sheaths. I love leather handles. I do have a soft spot in my heart for knives like this, but they have this disadvantages. When I'm getting nice and sweaty, there's absolutely no gripping on here. None whatsoever. My hands get sweaty, that's going to come out of my grip. I've had it happen. It sucks when it comes out of your grip. Also, when not done properly, sometimes these leather rings get a little loosey-goosey. This is one of those. A little epoxy would fix it. I just haven't gotten around to it. And it also has a steel butt plate. But, again, once again, compared to this one, I have no way of telling where the tang in this blade ends or how this butt plate is mounted. There's no outward signs to tell me that that butt plate isn't just glued on there. I have no idea if it's pinned in place or what. Again, common sense would be to pin these things in place, but with manufacturing being exported to all sorts of different countries to save on costs, quality is questionable some days. It has a synthetic Kydex style sheath, which is also great. However, I will say it has your classic strap and clasp. Disadvantage to this is if you unconnect that, or if it just comes disconnected while hiking through rough bush, the knife will fall out. If that is not secure, the knife will fall out, and I've lost knives with this style of sheath before, because the little snap came undone, or I forgot to do it back up. Crap happens, right? And the knife fell out when I was bent over picking something up, or whatever the reason was. The knife fell out. I didn't notice it. Bye-bye knife. Now I just have an empty sheath. Really awkward when you go to reach for your knife to do a chore at camp, and you just find an empty sheath. That's really awkward. So I'll say, while it is an interesting design, I'm not sure how to feel about it. One thing I can appreciate, the knife seats in there and locks in there. It's kind of a pressure fit. I can shake this all day and that knife isn't gonna fall out. However, one of my complaints with this is the mounting system for this to be attached to your person. It's just a clip. It's not a very strong clip. And given that the knife locks into place, if I have this on my hip and I go to pull the blade out of the sheath, or I suppose since it's a hard sheath, you might call this a scabbard. Either way. Go to pull it out, I just wind up pulling the whole thing off my belt. And then I have to grab it and pull it out. Which, it's a mild inconvenience, but if I was trying to access my knife quickly, or maybe one of my hands was busy, it's holding something, I was just trying to use one hand, it would be a pain in the ass. It really would be. But that's the only complaint I have about this, scabbard. Otherwise, it's solid, it's durable. I'm not going to worry about the knife that much. And the same goes for the knife, really. Another thing I like about this Cray-X rubber is that it keeps your maintenance minimal. This isn't gonna rot, you know. Again, I love leather, but you gotta oil this, because eventually you gotta oil this at least once in a while. Eventually it'll dry out. If it gets soaking wet and you don't clean it off right, it could rot. It's leather. It came from a organic source. This stuff will never rot. Doesn't matter if it gets wet. The only thing that's going to affect is your grip. It might slip, but other than that, it's not going to affect the quality of the knife. I mean, it still might rust, but that's up to the individual to care for their tools. It requires less care, for sure. So, yeah, that's the Cold Steel Leatherneck SF. I'm really excited to have this knife. I look forward to putting it through its paces. And I hope it lives up to the hype. I've seen some other reviews, and some other folks have had decent things to say about it. So I hope it lives up to that. And, yeah. Thank you for tuning in, guys. And until next time, bye.